Hi, welcome back to the CE371 Soils lab videos. Today is our third installation, lab number 3, the Atterberg limits tests. So these tests consist of 3 separate tests. Number 1 is the plastic limits test, number 2 is the liquid limits test, and 3 is the cone penetrometer liquid limits test. Let's dig in.
First part of this lab is the plastic limits test. First thing we're going to do is to take our tear can and weigh it with the lid on it using the small scale. Once you get the weight of both of those, you're going to record those on your data sheet. Then you're going to take 1/3 of the soil given to you from your lab technician and go and place it on the glass plate. You're then going to take the soil, you're going to start rolling it out on the glass plate, and you're trying to get it to reach a diameter of 1/8 of an inch, which is the same diameter as the rod given to you by your lab technician. So you're going to set it there for comparison while you continue to roll this out. Once they get to the same diameter, it's going to start to crumble. You're going to take the pieces that crumble and go on and place them in the tear can. Make sure you put the lid back on afterwards to keep the moisture in there. You're going to keep repeating this process until you have 20 grams, at least 20 grams in each tear can of soil that crumbled at the 1/8 inch mark. So you're going to continue this process until you have both tear cans with 20 grams of soil. After you get that, you're going to record the weight of both of the tear cans with the soil in it, and you're going to record that weight on your data sheet. So now that you have at least 20 grams of soil in each tear can, and you've weighed it and recorded the weight on your data sheet, you're going to crack the lid of each tear can and place it in the spot designated by your lab technician. They're going to oven dry these for 24 hours, get all the moisture out of them, and then send that email information in the email out to you all. Once you have that information, you'll be able to calculate the weight of the soil because the moisture will be out of it. The next part of this lab is going to be the liquid limits test, and we're going to do this using the Casa Grande cup method. First thing we're going to do is weigh the tear cans with the lid on them using the small scale, and then record the weight for each tear can. Next, you want to make sure that your device is calibrated. You're going to do this using the red tool that comes with the cup. You can see on the end here, there's sort of a raised portion. You want to place that underneath the cup at the part where the cup hits the rest of the platform. And you want to get it to where when you rotate it, the cup is barely rising and dropping. And once you get to that point, that's how you know it's calibrated. If it's not there, you can adjust it using this knob at the back. But again, you want it to where it's barely dropping when you do a rotation. Another point of this lab is to get the moisture content of the soil. So you're going to be doing this test 3 different times. And each time you want to have a certain amount of drops that it takes to close the gap to finish the test. So you want to have one about 15 drops, one at about 25, and then another one between 35 and 40. If it's greater than 40, that means your moisture content is too low, and you need to terminate the test, add a few drops of water, and then repeat steps 3 through 6 of your lab meeting. So now that we've gone ahead and made sure that the device is calibrated, we're going to begin adding the soil to the cup. You're going to be adding it to the front portion here, and you want to make sure that it's smooth and has no air pockets. So as I go, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So your first moisture content should be about 15 drops. So the soil should have the consistency of peanut butter is what we're looking for. So as you're scraping this through, you want to try and make sure it has a nice, even, level surface. I'm slowly working towards getting. You're only using the front half portion of the cup. As you're scraping through, if you have excess soil coming off, you can go and scrape it back into your bowl. So you're trying to make this as clean as possible to make sure it's an accurate test. remember you're trying to get rid of all air pockets and just make this surface as smooth as possible to make this test as accurate as possible. Alright, once you have your soil in there, you're going to take the red tool and you're going to use the other end of it this time to carve a 1/2 inch line down the bottom of the brass bowl. And you want it to where you can see the line all the way down. So just scrape this down. You're going to be scraping out a good amount of soil with it. You can go and place back in the bowl. And once you're done, you should have a clean line going all the way down the cup. Once you have that ready, you can go and put the cup back into the Casa Grande platform. And you're going to reset the counter. From here, you're going to count or start dropping it at a constant rate, and this device will count it for you, which is nice, but you want to make sure you're doing it at a slow, constant rate. And what you're looking for is how long it takes this device to drop the soil to close that gap. And that gap is considered closed once the soil touches each other at any point. So like I said before, you're going to be trying to plot this on a log graph. And you should have one point at about 15 drops, one point at about 25 drops, and one point between 35 and 40. If you go above 40, like I said before, you have too low of a moisture content, so you need to go ahead and add a few drops of water and redo steps 3 through 6 of your lab manual. So you can see right here, we just got the soil starting to touch right in the middle, and we're sitting at 35 drops, so this one is good. Once you have this, you're going to take a little bit of the soil and add it to your tear can. You want to have at least 20 grams of soil for each moisture content in these tear cans. So you want to weigh that, make sure you have at least 20 grams, and then once you're done with that, you're going to increase the moisture content by adding a few drops of water. As you're adding water to this, make sure you're going slowly. It's a lot faster to add more water, but it takes a lot longer for the water to dry out. So once you're finished with this, you're going to repeat the sepsis lab for 2 more tests. The next portion of this lab is going to be the cone penetrometer liquid limits test. So just like the last lab, first thing you're going to do, you're going to weigh the empty tear cans with a lid on a small scale and record the weight of those. And then you're going to take the small brass cup that comes with the cone penetrometer machine, and you're going to start filling it with soil. You want to avoid any major air gaps, just like the previous test, because this test uses a cone with weight attached to see how far it sinks into a brass cup of soil, essentially. So as you're filling this in here, you're not mashing it down, you're just avoiding any air gaps. And you want to get it to where the top surface is smooth, just like the previous lab. So once you have this on there, you're going to smooth it out and get rid of any excess soil. And then you're going to go on and begin calibrating the device. So to do this, you're going to use the black knob on the side. You're going to lower this cone until it's barely touching the soil. And once it's there, you're going to go ahead and lower this down. This top cone, or excuse me, this top bar, you see as you twist this, it raises and lowers. You're going to get it until it's barely touching this bottom bar. Once it's barely touching, you're going to record the measurement on the dial to the nearest 0.1 millimeter, a tenth of a millimeter, and once you get that, you're ready to go. To do this test, you're going to use a stopwatch. You can either do it yourself or have a lab partner help you. And you're going to essentially use this blue bar in the back, and this button, and you're going to press this button for 5 seconds, which is going to release the cone. And you're measuring how far the cone travels into the soil for 5 seconds. So with your stopwatch ready, go on and press this button. For exactly 5 seconds. And once that's done, you notice that there's a gap in between this bar and this bottom bar. So what you're going to do, you're going to rotate this bar clockwise until they're just barely touching. Then you're going to record this new distance and subtract it from the first distance you have to get the delta, which is essentially how far this cone traveled. And if it's in between 10 and 30 millimeters, that means you have a good sample. And you can go on, raise this cone out of there. You're going to go and clean the cone. So while one member is cleaning the cone, the next can take a sample of the soil and put it in a tear can. Just like before, you want to have at least 20 grams of the sample in the tear can so you can have an accurate weight. Just go and put the lid on there, weigh it, and then put it in the spot designated by your instructor or lab technician. Once you finish this, you're going to essentially do the same thing you did for the Casa Grande test. You're going to add a small amount of water and repeat this test for a total of 3 tests. Just like before, you're doing a log graph, so you should have a point around 10 millimeters, 20 millimeters, and 30 millimeters for how far it sinks into the soil.